Hello and welcome to Andy
and Marty.
Le Podcast.
The podcast.
We're here to sell you some good news and some good conversation.
Oh, of course. Here we are.
In the good old south
the
of
Wild
the US
West. Coming to you straight from the Wild West.
Straight from the southwest of the USA.
Here we are.
More particularly Texas.
How are you partners doing?
We're from Texas.
We are happy.
Oh.
Happy as a horse.
I'm happy as the horse I rode to school this morning.
I am so happy.
Oh my God.
I am just jumping in my boots. Here we are today. A lovely day, might I add.
Lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day.
We're feeling kind of chaotic, I think. I'm getting a I'm getting a little chaos today. I like it. It is the week of the eclipse. And so it makes sense. For those of you guys who don't know, there's a solar eclipse this week.
On the 14th.
On the 14th, correct. October 14th.
I'm going to see it perfectly from my ranch.
Oh, yes. I'm going to watch the whole thing. Me and my sheep.
Me and my sheep and my
it's
one
their
cow
favorite
Bessie,
time of year.
And my horse Nelly.
Yeah, so this Saturday is the solar eclipse and eclipse season in astrology. Even if you know nothing about astrology, you can know this. Eclipse season in astrology is notoriously chaotic. It is known for bringing fated, destined events or things, bringing things to a close, bringing things to start, whatever. It's like it switches up your life in a way that is typically not something that you can predict previously. Like, it's just out of your control. So it's like the best thing to do during an eclipse is just to go with the flow, you know? Give into the chaos and let it take you and then respond. You just kind of gotta like let yourself go through the eclipse. You gotta get eclipsed.
I feel like I'm going through the eclipse every day of my life.
You've been eclipsed.
I'm going through the eclipse every single
day.
day.
It's like punked, but like eclipsed. That's the universe right now. Not being eclipsed.
Not being eclipsed.
It's almost like it's the eclipse.
I just really like the Eclipse book.
I was gonna say it's like the Twilight series.
It's like the Twilight series.
It's like Mama said, it's like the Twilight series Eclipse. It's called Eclipse.
Grandma used to say. Back in 2012.
Yep. I think that was my least favorite book, Eclipse. Just kidding, I'm lying. I think that when it actually came out, I was like, this is my favorite book. Because it was before Breaking Dawn came out. I was a little twihard. Throwback.
I was also a twihard as well.
As a little infant back in the day when I was merely a wee baby when Twilight came out, because I'm super young and a young Gen Zer, as we all know.
Yeah, I'm only like 12.
I just had my quince. Yeah. It was so fun.
And we danced to, I was about to say Bella Hadid, but what's that girl?
Bella Hadid?
What's that girl's name? Bella, the one that's like
what? Oh God, Bella Porsche?
Bella Porsche, yeah.
No, that's like cringe. That's not Gen Z. Just kidding, I don't know. I don't know.
She's not Gen Z, but her audience is Gen Z.
I guess, but is she still that relevant?
She's relevant. You know, she had her era, but now, you know, she's resting on her millions, you know?
Aren't we all? Join the club, you know? This is called me aligning, guys. This is me being in alignment.
Well, anyway, we're gonna move on to our topic of the day.
Oh, do you want to introduce it to them?
You go ahead, Madi. You like to talk a lot.
I mean, I can not talk also.
No, it's okay. I also love talking. Just you go on. You explain.
So, some of you may have heard of this trend. It's going around on TikTok for sure. It's obviously everywhere if it's on TikTok, but it's the Roman Empire trend. If you guys don't know what that is, basically people started realizing that a lot of men, when you ask them, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? A lot of them think about the Roman Empire like all of the time, okay? Like, I mean, so many of these men would be like, honestly, I was just thinking about them earlier. I kind of think about them like every day, or at least like, 5 times a week, or it's like always an excessive amount, okay? More than maybe the typical person would assume that anyone would be thinking about the Roman Empire, right? So people have taken that and made it into this kind of trend of like, oh, this is my Roman Empire. Meaning, this is what I think about all the time that's really random that I know other people aren't thinking about. right?
Mm-hmm.
So we thought today it would be fun, a fun activity, and a trendy activity to talk about what our personal Roman empires are. So that's what we're gonna do. That is in fact what's gonna happen on today's episode.
No cap.
On God.
On God.
On the universe.
On my farm.
On the farm. On my sheep.
On my sheep.
On my sheep's life.
All my sheeps wear
my
caps.
My sheep has no cap.
And I took them off for this occasion.
I confiscated them because they're not allowed to have caps, and they know that.
There's no caps
That's
allowed.
The one rule I have for them.
There's no caps
and
allowed
they just
here.
Don't listen.
No, just all these sheep just be putting on their caps.
All these sheep, but no caps.
Okay.
Is that your Roman Empire?
No.
Your ranch
not.
with your sheep? Okay, what's your Roman Empire?
I think that my Roman Empire really truly is the fact that cities in the United States were designed so horribly. And I think about it constantly. And if I don't stop myself from getting really worked up, then I will like literally burst with rage sometimes over the design of my city particularly, which is El Paso, Texas. So our only way of getting around is cars. Our only way of getting around is driving like a far distance. Everything's been built so spread apart from each other. All of the trolleys that we had here in the city are gone and replaced with roads or a trolley that is just pretty much for decorative purposes. So we have one that goes from like downtown to the university, but it's like only works during certain hours.
It's kind of giving Hot Wheels.
It's giving non-functional design.
It's giving Hot Wheels, like the most basic version, because it's just like it can only go back and forth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, and then one track. And that's all she wrote.
And people who actually use public transportation are not going to pay to use this thing when they could just pay for a bus that's going to take them closer to where they're actually going. So I think that's my Roman Empire that really bugs me.
Okay, so what I want to know,
U.S. city design. What
I want to know though is that it's like, okay, you're not always here, so that you're not always. That's your Roman Empire when you're here in El Paso.
No, because when I'm in other countries, I'm thinking that's how it could be done.
So you really then your Roman Empire is just like roasting U.S. infrastructure.
I think it's urban design, to be more specific, and I've been thinking about changing the course of my life to go in that direction because of how triggered I get from these situations. You know?
Wow.
Invasive species. That's another one. Plants.
Of course, these are invasive species.
No, really, I'm being dead ass serious.
Yeah,
I'm being dead ass serious.
Right.
I will walk around and I will get so upset that someone planted a tree that is going to spawn like 1,000 invasive tree seedlings nearby, and they just like planted it with like no research on this plant or tree at all. I think that really bugs me, and that also is included in urban design. Because the city itself is responsible for planting some of these invasive plants and invasive trees. And then people in turn see this and then they're like, oh, I'm going to buy that tree. And then they go to their local Home Depot or nursery and they buy this tree. And they have no idea what they've just done to their yard, to their neighbor's yard, to their neighborhood. Like they just have no idea. And I think that
you take that personally.
I take that extremely personally, and I have to stop myself. I take it extremely personally, and I have to stop myself from being triggered. It's one of those things where it's like I have to like calm myself down from seeing the tree and then seeing like the 10 invasive species babies beside the tree.
That is definitely a Roman Empire, because I know other people are not thinking at all about that.
No, and
absolutely not.
You know what? Yeah, no. I also I think about like desertification a lot because of this as well. I think about the fact that we planted so many trees here in El Paso that don't belong here. And even if they're not invasive, it's like we don't even care at all what it's doing to the environment.
If you had to pick like one invasive species
that really bothers me?
No. Like if our city was to be taken over by an invasive species, which would you pick?
I think that I would choose the Afghan pine, because here we have the Afghan pine, which is obviously a pine tree from Afghanistan and from that part of the world. And in certain parts of El Paso, like the richest parts of El Paso, like the country club where all the rich people live, the tree actually can propagate itself and it can actually come out on its own.
That's a very friendly choice.
Yeah.
I probably would have gone for like
something chaotic.
Bamboo.
No. that bugs me.
Are you triggered?
Yeah, because there's nothing in the environment that can even eat bamboo at all. And
Okay,
it just
fine.
soaks
What
up a
else
bunch
then?
of water.
What else? Maybe like an animal?
An animal? An invasive animal?
Something friendly. Like...
That's asking a lot of me to like entertain this idea.
Maybe some rabbits.
Okay, rabbits are
Something
cute.
friendly and cute and just chaotic enough to make a scene.
Okay, yeah, but
but not enough to like, you know, cause bodily injuries, you know.
I think bunnies are super cute, and in Malmo, Sweden, there's a ton of bunnies, but everybody has mixed opinions about them because they are low-key invasive, and then, you know, they get run over, and, you know...
Well, those people are wrong.
I love the bunnies. I love the bunnies.
I'm like, let them live, please. Jesus. I mean, where else are they going to live but in some fairy tale Nordic country anyway? Like, give them a break. How much have we taken from them already?
I love the bunnies.
You know what my favorite invasive species is? I almost forgot what they're called.
Almost.
The birds. Those one birds. Pigeons.
Okay. That took a while.
Pigeons? I kept thinking penguin. I'm like, no, but the bird.
No.
Penguins are penguins a bird?
Yes.
They're like a chicken, right?
Mari, penguins are a bird, yes.
Anyway. Like penguins, pigeons are also birds.
Yes.
And I also you know what? Maybe that's my Roman Empire. That's probably
Are you segueing into yours?
I'm just adding this in there. This is not what I was going to talk about. But I think that maybe a lower scale Roman Empire for me is that I constantly think about how dirty we did the pigeons and how messed up it is that they got the shorter end of the stick in our society. I mean, all the animals on Earth kind of have it shit right now. I mean, let's be honest, it's trash. However, the pigeons, we forced them into the cities. We forced them into the society.
We brought them into
society.
We
made them exist among us. The only other animals that do that are like pets. You know, pet type animals.
Well, it's because they were domesticated.
But who has... Yeah, exactly. That's so wrong. We domesticated them just to desert them as if they're nothing, and now they're gross.
They're overpopulated.
We're gross.
Okay, what, okay, like, honestly.
That's why they're my favorite invasive species.
Yeah, no.
Maybe that's not my Roman Empire, but that's like my...
You think about it whenever you see a pigeon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think, yeah, no, nobody thinks about
all
this.
the time. I'm like, God damn it. Fuck. This is fucked up.
Well, yeah, no, they started off on, like, the cliffs of the UK.
Dude, yes!
Yeah.
Like, they had their shit in line.
Yeah, they were living on the
and
ocean.
They were literally, like, some of these little flying bitches were literally mailmen delivering messages, okay? And I know it's the carrier pigeon, like, it's kind of different, whatever. But still, like, they're so smart and they're so social.
I don't understand how, if carrier pigeons were so smart, how did they go extinct?
Well, probably just because they don't care.
Of course, yeah.
They don't care. I care.
We all
Find me at the park, your local pigeon lady, feeding the pigeons.
I've never seen you do that in my life.
I do it sometimes, but now I'm scared because I got stung by a bee, and so...
What does that have to do with it?
I get nervous when I'm in a public nature area with food where there could potentially be bees around, and the park where I usually feed the pigeons is the same one where I got stung by the bee. And so due to my PTSD after that event, I no longer eat or have drinks in that specific park. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I've had some pigeons the
Yeah,
other
so
day.
me and the bees kind of have a little bit of beef now.
Says the vegan.
I love them. I love them, and I mean, I was like, I would die for them maybe, but we got a little beef, you know. There's a little like, I think
it's
honestly,
wisdom.
I think it was because it hurt so much. And there was a moment where I thought I was gonna go into like allergic shock. Like I started to feel like a little bit of like, and I was like, am I gonna be EpiPenned right now?
Are you allergic to bees?
Well, I realized that you can get more allergic the more that you get stung, and that was my second time being stung. I had gotten stung by a wasp that was like a walk in the park compared to this bee sting. Like,
Well,
Jesus,
yeah,
I was like trying to do
this.
my work. I literally was on my break from my job, so I had to go back to work, and I'm just sitting in the office like having a fucking aneurysm about how my arm is on fire, and I'm just supposed to keep typing because capitalism doesn't give a fuck about your bee sting. Anyway, would you like to talk more about the urban planning?
I get very frustrated that we plant trees that don't give shade when we live in the desert. And that we banned...
That's a good one.
We banned this one tree called the mulberry tree, and it's from the Mediterranean. It grows very well here because we used to have a Mediterranean climate before we messed up this environment. And now this tree is banned because it gave people so many allergies. But we have this giant refinery in the middle of our city. And we have like our electric plant that also spews out a ton of chemicals, and we have these other electric plants throughout the area that spew out a bunch of chemicals.
Can't make billions of dollars off mulberry trees.
No, and that's that's another thing that like literally makes me just like I want to like shake someone when I think to myself like we gaslit all these people in this community to think that their breathing problems and their allergies and like all these issues come from a tree, when in reality we have all of this industrial stuff going on that's causing all of these problems for people. Even so after we've banned all these trees all these years later, we still have the highest rates of asthma, we still have the highest rates of all of these things with breathing issues. But
you're so right. It's like we also have some of the highest rates of sulfur dioxide.
Yeah, exactly.
Like concentration in our atmosphere out of the whole country. And I think to myself, how many of these really nice trees did they cut down? And how many people could have planted this tree by now? Like the female version of the plant that doesn't even release the pollen. They could have just planted the female variety. But instead, we just like completely banned this tree. And we have this one tree that's planted everywhere that I talked with somebody about recently. It's the Italian cypress pine. We have the Italian cypress pine that's planted everywhere. And this tree is very pretty. It's like the tree that goes up in like a cone. It's the
skinny little tree that goes up into the sky. It's giving skinny legend tree. And no shade at all. Yeah. And like, yes, of course it cleans the air, and it's still a tree, and they're beautiful trees, especially when they're planted in a nice row.
Andrew, what's wrong with trees?
Okay, but the bottom line is that we're planting these trees that are from the Mediterranean that give no shade at all in a climate where we should be planting trees that give shade, you know? So that is one of my biggest things.
You know what those trees provide, Andrew?
Love.
Homes for the pigeons. Space for the nests.
That's true.
So have a little respect.
Actually, pigeons prefer like bridges because it actually mimics their...
Because of their like, just they're fucked up.
No.
They're like humans that like, give me the concrete.
No, they just prefer bridges and like buildings and ledges because that's like, it mimics their cliffs that they lived on.
In the parking garage I park in, there's a colony of bats on the top floor.
Wow.
And it's like, I come out to my car and they're like, and there's like bat guano. Like they literally have a community.
Wow.
Inside of the parking garage.
It's pretty cool that they leave them
alone.
I'm
at a nature park.
That's
Every
cool.
time I park up there, I'm like, hi guys.
Love it. Okay, well, go on. You can tell me what your Roman Empire is now. After I've ranted about
besides
trees and
pigeons,
urban design.
Besides the absolute injustice that is pigeon,
she's got to go to her notes, guys.
Okay, look, like, let's be honest. I don't know, I was gonna say urban legend. My real Roman Empire is that I'm constantly thinking about how nobody understands the way the universe really works. That's for sure my top thing. I mean, like,
nobody?
Okay. The vast majority of people don't understand the universe at all. They don't understand, like, what Earth really is, like, our senses, what it means to be human, like, the fact that it's all particles, like, time isn't real. You know, all of the existential crazy things. I know that the vast majority of people do not think like that, and that's for sure what I'm constantly thinking about, because I'm just like,
if you knew.
If you only knew, it's like, you know, people are like, oh, well, you know, it's hard not to think about how sometimes people are attracting things to themselves that they don't want, you know, or that they're caught in cycles and, like, you know, thought processes and self-concepts that don't serve them. And it really does make me think you need to just be enlightened, you know, like, it's not your fault that you just haven't learned these things and that society doesn't really, you know, encourage people to know this. But I definitely think about that all the time. And I think what goes hand in hand with that I also think about all the time, which I thought was kind of funny, because I almost was like my Roman Empire is the Roman Empire, low-key, but it's not the Roman Empire, but it's definitely ancient history. Like, I kind of get the Roman Empire thing, low-key. I kind of get why people think about it all the time, because I'm like, okay, yes. It's just like this huge monumental thing, and there's so many things we don't really understand about those times. But I constantly think about, like, the ancient civilizations, like the Egyptians and the Sumerians and, like, the Atlanteans, right? Like, allegedly.
I think about how the Romans went in and banned the Egyptians from practicing this ancient religion, and got them to stop understanding hieroglyphs within just a few generations. Like, I think about that, and I think if they were able to do that, then that explains why the White House is made in Roman architecture, why all of these different things are made in Roman architecture. Like, I get why they were able to heavily influence the rest of the world. But again,
I honestly don't believe... Okay, let me maybe give some context here. I went down a whole rabbit hole at a point about ancient, essentially, I guess you could say, suppressed ancient, like, archaeology, and about all of the sites that exist all around the world of megalithic structures, which megaliths are basically these super ancient structures that are often absolutely massive, made out of, like, you know, the huge blocks, made with super mathematical, like, you know, precision and insane engineering, and, you know, huge ton pieces of stone that are perfectly configured. A lot of them use the same kind of techniques as far as, like, the building style, which is often, like, polygonal masonry, which is the kind of Tetris style, where each block is cut differently, but they all fit perfectly together. And that's a big reason why things like the pyramids have stood the test of time, is because of the way that they were built that way. Because it essentially makes buildings earthquake proof, because it's not like, there's not like certain supporting structures. Like, the entire structure supports itself, okay? And among so many other just insane things that a lot of these sites have in common. And everyone knows about the pyramids, right? Everyone, I think, or at least a lot of people even know that there's, like, a lot of unexplained things about how they were built, and that we don't really understand it, and, you know, whatever. But I think that what most people don't know is that there are sites like that all around the world.
In every country.
Those pyramids aren't even the craziest ones. They're literally not. I mean, they're among the most infamous, but there are so many sites all around the world that are just absolutely baffling, unexplainable, make no sense. In some cases, in areas where there wasn't even a civilization known to live there, but there's these super advanced, like, you know, perfectly made structures were, why was this made? How was this made? Who even did this, right? Some of this stuff is underwater. Some of this stuff is underground. I mean, even just that, the underground cities everywhere. There's just so much history that like you said, right, that I'm so certain was manipulated. And it seems so obvious because we know for a fact they have manipulated history so many times. I mean, they're still doing it right now, right? They're still trying to manipulate history from just the past 100 years. I mean, much less the past thousands, right? Much less the past 10,000 years or 20,000 years. Because when you look at the historical records of these ancient civilizations, they say a very different story about the story of humanity and how we came to be and humans' interactions with the universe. And I think that there's just so much evidence to point to the fact that ancient humans were not primitive, that they did have some kind of advanced technology that we do not currently use, whether it was free energy, 0-point energy, like whatever. They were using the tools that the universe gives us in order to do things that are not even being replicated now. And so I'm constantly thinking about that, about how like the history of humanity was like robbed of us and how we're being lied to about that. And always wondering about what the true story of humans are. Even when I think about wars that are going on, right? In so many of the cases, of course, a lot of these most ancient civilizations were in the Middle East because that is like the foundation of humanity, like Mesopotamia, right? Those areas. And so many of those super ancient sites are constantly being destroyed by like various organizations, various parties, right?
Well, yeah, it's like the same thing that the colonists did when they got to the
Exactly.
Americas. They bulldozed things.
Exactly.
They literally covered
yeah,
things
I mean,
in
you know,
mud.
right, it started with the burning of the Library of Alexandria, right? That's another, I actually saw somebody say that on TikTok of like, this is my Roman Empire, like the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and I was like, same!
Yeah.
If you guys have never heard of this library, the Library of Alexandria was a super world famous library. I mean, it was renowned even at the time. It's also known as kind of like the first university type place because people would go there to study, and it was huge. And they literally had millions of scrolls and ancient texts and ancient books. I mean, it was like, you know, the encyclopedia of the world, basically, at the time, right? This is like before the internet. Like, it was like so much knowledge and wisdom and history was held in this library. And it conveniently burned to the ground. And, you know, whatever texts were there, the vast majority of them are completely gone to time. And so it's like, that's just, I think, proof of how easy it is to manipulate history. You know, it's like they say, the winner of the war gets to write the history book, right? It's like the colonizers get to write the history book. Whoever takes over whatever empire was there before gets to change the story. And it doesn't take that long for people to not know the difference, right? It's like you can have people that lived through it, and then a generation or two later, you know, those people don't know any better. It doesn't take very long to have people forget. And it's just crazy, especially when I think about the possibility of reincarnation. And, you know, some of us,
a jump.
Well, because it's like, you know, I do believe in reincarnation at this point. That's just me, and I know a lot of more people do because there's so much evidence for it, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, I showed my dad a documentary about it.
I think people don't realize, like, there's so much evidence. I mean, seriously.
There's an entire, like, university here in the U.S.
and it's been going on for decades.
Their whole program is dedicated to...
So many people have studied this phenomena at this point. Scientists,
children,
right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so...
Both of us talking
well, that's why I say it's just that everything is connected, right? And so when I think about us being lied to about our history, and then I think, what if those were our past lives that we're being lied about? You know what I mean? Or that they're lying to us about. Like, those were our identities or our societies that we actually existed in as different people. Like, our souls actually existed in, and memories that are maybe being suppressed also. You know? I mean, it's just, it really does make me wonder. Why is this being suppressed? Is it just because they want to control us, and because, you know, they want us to be good little worker bees and exist in the matrix as it is and not ask too many questions or get too empowered as a society, right? I think that is probably part of it. But then I'm always thinking, like, what is the real story here? You know? And I guess that ties into even just me saying, I'm always thinking so existentially of like, that's probably my real Roman Empire is like, no one understands the real scope, I guess, of what it means to be human. Or I feel often like so many people don't fully grasp it or aren't thinking about all these things. And it's all of those things combined. People don't, know about the history of the humans. People don't know about like everything that exists on the earth. People don't understand all the cultures that have come before us and everything that like all that ancient knowledge. People don't understand the science, the physics, like the way that the universe is insane that it's even able to exist and how much we don't understand. And like you were saying earlier of, we can only perceive such
like
a
less
small,
than 1%
small
is the physical world. Yeah.
Shrivel of like even what we know to exist, right? It's like we can only perceive, I think it's 5% of the electromagnetic spectrum, which is insane when you think about. That means that we cannot see 95% of the electromagnetic spectrum.
No, and then,
right?
And then Deepak Chopra was saying that like we only see 1% of the physical, like is what we call the physical world.
Well, yeah, because it's
so
like that's the thing is only certain we can perceive certain things, right, with our various senses. But visible light is a small fraction of what we even perceive when you think about it. I mean, we literally only really perceive like a small wavelength of the entire. It's like you're shown that in science class, right? It's like the visible light spectrum is super small. It's like just the rainbow. That's it. There's even other animals on Earth that can see more colors than we can.
Most animals.
And that can see more of the electromagnetic spectrum. But then you think about the fact that even the 5% of the electromagnetic spectrum that we can perceive is nothing when you think about the fact that that whole 100% of that electromagnetic spectrum, everything that we know to exist in matter, is only 5% of the entire universe. Because the vast majority of the universe is dark matter or something beyond matter, right? That we can't, or allegedly, right?
We just call it dark matter because we just don't understand.
I'm like, it's the consciousness, it's the higher planes, it's the multiple dimensions, probably. That's what I think, you know what I mean? But we humans, we don't understand anything and we cannot perceive anything. And it's funny because we don't even know that, It's crazy. We are literally the universe that forgot that it's the universe, studying the universe to find out what the universe really is as the universe. It's so meta, but I think that it's so beautiful and liberating when you really think about like what it means to be human and what it means to be on Earth. I feel like sometimes I'm just like sitting in my office and I'm just like, let's stage a walkout right now, Like take our power back. Like let's go back to Atlantis. I'm done with this,
Madi, you are unhinged. I love you.
It's just the truth. That and pigeons.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Also stray cats.
Let's just go back to Atlantis,
Stray cats too. I bet you there was not some roughed up pigeons. I guarantee they didn't have homeless pigeons in Atlantis.
Okay, well, you know what the stray cats survive off of?
Pigeons?
Yeah.
Guys, one time, like I told you when I was in Amsterdam, I witnessed a seagull murder a pigeon in cold blood and then rip out its heart right in front of me. And I was like,
That's nature, girl.
I'd never seen something so horrific.
That's nature.
It's like, is it spooky season right now?
That's what nature's supposed to do. Well, yeah. I mean, if there's one last thing I want to say about my personal Roman Empire is that we humans, particularly here in the US and in other parts of the Americas, we are going to see the results of what we've done to this environment and to our cities, which are environments, within the next 10 to 20 years. And soil erosion, desertification, invasive species, all these different things, they're on my mind now as my Roman Empire. but I can promise you that they're going to be on everyone's mind within the next 10 to 15 years.
I can see that. I feel like actually that's another one of my Roman empires is like just climate change.
Yeah, well, it's all part of it.
Because I'm constantly like 10 years from now, let's see if you want to live there, you know?
Yeah, no, we'll see.
But I wanted to ask you one last question before we end.
Okay.
How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
I think about the Roman Empire probably about like once a week at least. And I like think about it more specifically in terms of the Roman Catholic Church. And it's usually every Sunday because I was raised Catholic that I think about it, because my dad and my family, like, they still participate in the Roman Catholic Church. And I, even though like we'll still go every so often as like a nostalgia thing, or like a, you know, like I'm just like, I'm trying to be with my family, you know? Participate with my family.
You should just like
I think to myself,
take them on an ayahuasca retreat or something.
I think to myself, it's so funny that these people get to decide what is considered pagan and what is considered an authentic religion.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought. I'm like, okay.
And that they are
What's the difference?
Yeah, no, I've had this discussion with a lot of people.
This random book that's allegedly nonfiction.
Okay.
This is it.
This is it. Period.
This man in this hat, he's basically number 2 to God on earth.
All those sheeps without caps. Yeah, that's us. And
gotta
we're supposed to follow this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right, that's us. You gotta follow the big man with the cap.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
I think about it in terms of that, and then I think to myself about like missions, colonization, the fact that like the only reason why I have the last name I have.
It's been a very serious, lighthearted podcast.
Yeah.
It's been a good mix.
Yeah, the only reason why I have the last name I have is because of colonization and them assigning my great-grandfather and his family this last name. You know, like I know for almost certain that last name probably has nothing to do with somebody that had my last name. And it was the Roman Catholic Church.
My last name
that
came from.
Okay, I don't know, but they wrote down all of these names. They documented all of these people, and it just like trips me out that it's like it was this empire that set the stage for Mexico, that set the stage for where I live now.
Yeah, dude, dead ass. The Roman Empire were the OG dumb bitches. Like, OG fucking colonizers, hello.
Yeah, no,
maybe they weren't the OG, but, like, they were one of the OGs.
They're one of the craziest.
I don't respect that.
No, I mean, okay? and then it's like, and then I think to myself, did everyone just forget about the Inquisition? Yes,
dude, the Inquisition is, like, so, that's, like, proof right there.
Did everyone just forget about this?
History is such a lie. It's like, dude, how can you actually, I'm sorry, like, no offense to anyone, okay? I'm not trying to insult anyone's faith here. How can you walk into a church knowing about the Inquisition and still stand by that organization? You know what I mean?
And then in the most recent history, like all the things they've done.
The horrific crimes of these churches.
Of the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah. And all of the indigenous kids that they've killed, and all of the things that have happened.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I know.
It's fucking horrible.
Well, that's what I think about. That's honestly, that is my Roman Empire moment. That is, I do actually think about the Roman Empire. It's just in that context. Yeah, what about you?
I would agree. I also think that Yeah, I might think I'm a little dumb for this, but I'm just being honest.
Are you just speaking?
I'm just being honest.
Speaking.
I think
off the farm.
I'm speaking. I might have to put my cap on for this.
Uh-oh. And just noted for you guys, we have she has a pair of grandparents that used to talk like this, and I have one grandparent that talks like this.
Well,
so
we're from Texas. We make some jokes.
We're not making fun of anybody.
We slither in and out of the accent. If you know what I mean. We dibble dabble.
We dibble dabble.
We do a little dibble dabble.
Dibble dabble, skittle scattle.
Scooter scattle.
Okay.
Riding our horses to the podcast, you know. We got a lot to think about.
She rode her horse to come record this episode today, actually,
He's waiting outside for me right now. He's feeding the pigeons while I'm gone.
Perry.
Perry's with the Pigeons right now.
Hmm.
Perry. I forgot what I was talking about. What I was going to say is that when I sometimes think about the Roman Empire, I wonder, is the Roman Empire really the Roman Empire? Now, let me explain this. The reason I wonder is because the Roman impact on the earth was so massive. Okay, what I mean specifically, I guess, is that, as I mentioned, there's megaliths all around the earth. A lot of them have very similar construction methods or architecture styles to those attributed to the Romans. But in a lot of the cases, it doesn't really make sense. For example, there's like aqueducts in South America that were built by the natives that are allegedly, obviously have nothing to do with Rome or the Roman Empire. They weren't even there yet, allegedly, right? There was no contact between them. But yet they're building Roman-style aqueducts in South America, on the other side of the world. Or how the biggest megalith in the entire world is in Lebanon, and it literally looks like the Pantheon or something.
No,
or like the Acropolis.
I always think about how the Romans just stole
Roman
everything.
Pillars are like making up this absolutely massive, crazily huge. Huge.
It's a huge.
It's a huge. You don't understand. It's huge. How would that huge? I know, but it is quite large.
It's huge.
It is quite massive. Anyway, unimaginably freaking huge. Okay, I mean, Jesus, like, what? Make it make sense. Anybody make it make sense. Okay, and the story of how this thing was built, this crazily large structure, is that the Roman soldiers were traveling through the area. Okay, and that they needed a base. And so they built that while they were traveling through this huge, massive, literally some of the stones alone are like thousands upon thousands of tons. And they're going to tell us.
Thousands of tons?
Yes, dude. I think that's a conservative estimate. I honestly, because I know for sure the oldest stones are the biggest. The ones on the bottom of the base of this thing are like, I mean, Jesus, like you could literally fit like 4 people stacked on top of each other in one of these stones. That's just the base of it. It's huge, okay? The Roman soldiers, just, these little poor peasants, they got to work on those stones and they performed miracles with the power of Jesus Christ, apparently. I don't know, okay? But it's insane. And so what I think is that when I think about what I was going to say, sorry, just let me finish the thought. When I think about the Roman Empire, I wonder, was it even the Roman Empire though? Or was it something else that you're not telling us about? Was there another ancient civilization that was more global and that would explain all of the influences everywhere, And I don't doubt it. So what I think the Romans maybe aren't all they cracked up to be.
No, I also agree. And I went to Greece this summer. And I chose to go to Greece instead of go to Italy for 3 weeks because I chose to go to the origins of the Roman culture and Roman history, because we know that the Pantheon, the Colosseum, we know that like these different buildings that are in the Roman Empire, if the former Roman Empire, Italy, and different places, that they were basically completely based off of designs that come from ancient Greece, and that Greece used to own half of Italy in the Hellenistic Empire, and that they they were heavily influenced by like ancient Egypt and from Turkey and from all these Constantinople, all these different ancient empires of the area. And I chose to go there because I thought to myself, I want to go to where these ideas originated from. The Romans took the Greek gods and Romanized them and made them into different things, just named them different things.
So it's like, why couldn't the Greeks have done the same thing?
Well, of course, I think that the Greeks definitely got a lot of inspiration from ancient Egypt. That's like where their language originates from. But yeah, no, my point is that I think that what Marissa's trying to say, and what I also agree with her, that later in history, I think that within the next couple of years, within the next decades, we're gonna find proof that the world was more interconnected than what we were made to believe for 2,000 years.
I'm just waiting for the aliens to come and be like, look, we're freeing you, okay?
Okay,
the government has been
On
outed.
that-
You're free.
on that
You don't have to go to work tomorrow. Money's fake. We're gonna be like, woo!
Okay, on that note, thank you for joining us on our Roman Empire episode.
What's your Roman Empire?
Yeah, what's your Roman Empire?
Let us
What
know.
bothers you? What do you think about constantly?
Yeah, or it doesn't have to be something that bothers you. It's just something that you think about a lot. Like
Yeah,
something that really interests you, or something that it's just like you're always triggered. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, repeat
The
it.
injustice of the pigeons. You know?
I don't think it's gonna be pigeons.
Do you
I
think that it's injustice that the pigeons have been disregarded and disrespected?
I think that there's much more. I want to say a disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment purposes,
Well, yeah.
and that we could have gotten really deep into like other topics that have to do with this, but I chose these things because they're
it's a
things.
TikTok meme. Relax.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a TikTok meme.
Exactly.
No one's taking it seriously. It's not
No-
supposed to be.
No cap. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for Andy.
And Marty.
The podcast,
The
and-
podcast.
Have a beautiful night. Have a beautiful morning. Have a beautiful whatever it is. And yeah, let us know what your Roman Empire is. Bye.